The desert does not scream. It does not leave witnesses. And it does not tell you who pulled the trigger. Yet every year, thousands of people disappear into the Sonoran Desert, some never found, others discovered years later as bones scattered by heat, time, and animals. But this is not just a story about nature. This is a story about organized crime, policy decisions, and human behavior colliding in one of the deadliest migration corridors on Earth. Because today, the Sonoran Desert is not just a borderland. It is a battlefield. The Sonoran Desert stretches across northern Mexico and the southwestern United States, covering more than 100,000 square miles across Sonora, Arizona, and California. It is deceptively alive, towering saguaro cacti, jagged volcanic rock, and vast plains that look flat until you walk them. Summer temperatures routinely exceed 115 degrees Fahrenheit. Water sources are scarce. Cell signals disappear within minutes. According to the Pulitzer Center's investigation, this terrain became deadly not by accident, but by design, after U.S. border enforcement strategies deliberately pushed migrants away from urban crossings and into remote desert corridors. Prevention through deterrence, officials called it. The desert became the deterrent. The Clinton administration deployed Border Patrol agents to major border cities, installed fencing and surveillance equipment at traditional crossing points in places like Tijuana and El Paso. The explicit goal, documented in policy papers, was to push undocumented migrants away from urban areas into increasingly remote and hostile terrain. Policymakers assumed migrants would hear about the dangers and stop coming. They were catastrophically wrong. According to data from the Pima County Medical Examiner's Office. As of December 2024, 1,633 migrants remain unidentified in Arizona alone. That's 1,633 families with no closure. 1,633 people reduced to case numbers in a database. The Pima County Medical Examiner maintains an interactive database where you can search by name, gender, year of death, location discovered. Cause of death, hyperthermia. Dehydration. Exposure. The desert doesn't discriminate. But here's what the official numbers don't capture. According to Dr. Bruce Anderson, former chief medical examiner for Pima County, the actual death toll is likely much higher. He told investigators. Think about that. Thousands of square miles of desolate Sonoran Desert. Bodies decompose rapidly in extreme heat, within 3 to 4 weeks in summer. A corpse can be reduced to scattered bones. Animals scatter remains. Flash floods wash evidence away. How many people are out there who will never be found? Let's talk about what the Sonoran Desert actually is. Geologists estimate it's been forming for about 2 billion years. It spans 100,000 square miles across Arizona, California, and northern Mexico. It's characterized by extreme temperature swings, scorching days and freezing nights. The terrain is deceptive. What looks flat from a distance is actually a maze of hills, basins, rocky outcroppings, and zero natural shelter. Now, overlay another crisis on top of this humanitarian disaster, cartel violence. Sonora, the Mexican state directly across from Arizona, has become a war zone. And what are they fighting over? Not just drugs anymore. Migrants. According to Insight Crime, the Sinaloa cartel, one of Mexico's oldest and most powerful criminal organizations, has made human smuggling a cornerstone of their operations. Mike Vigil, former high-ranking DEA agent in Mexico, states, "This area in Sonora is a major human smuggling corridor and that has become a huge money maker for the Sinaloa cartel." The numbers are staggering. In fiscal year 2023, U.S. Customs and Border Protection encountered 2.47 million migrants across the southwest border. Insight Crime estimates that if even half paid $10,000 in smuggling fees and bribes, a common rate, the market would be worth close to $12 billion annually. The Tucson sector in Arizona, which includes towns like Sasabe, saw the third highest number of migrant crossings. And here's the deadly reality, cartels charge every single person trying to cross. It's called pagar su piso, paying protection money. Migrants who can't pay the full amount upfront often promise to pay after reaching the US and starting work. If they die in the desert, their families still owe the debt. In October 2024, things escalated dramatically. The Sinaloa cartel fractured after the arrest of longtime leader Ismael El Mayo Zambada. Two factions emerged, Los Chapitos, sons of El Chapo, and Los Mayitos, Mayo's loyalists. They're not fighting over drug routes this time. They're battling for control of migrant smuggling through Sonora. A local nurse who spoke to Insight Crime on condition of anonymity described the terror. Migrants are super important right now because there aren't really any drugs passing through. They are paying thousands of dollars to cross. She recounted gathering her 3 children and fleeing after armed men showed up demanding she treat their wounded. The last night we were there, we slept in the bathroom because the gunshots wouldn't stop. In Caborca, Sonora, in October 2024. U.S. Marine Nicholas Quetz was shot to death by Sinaloa cartel gunmen shortly after passing a cartel checkpoint. 2 elderly Arizona women, aged 72 and 82, were murdered under similar circumstances in August 2024. The violence isn't staying in Mexico. A muckraker investigation discovered 4 murder victims in the Sonoran Desert in recent months. One had his face cut off, a signature cartel execution method. Another had a bullet in his head. They also found evidence of Santa Muerte worship, a death cult practice common among cartel members. In 2012, 3 people including 2 10-year-old boys were killed in Sonora as offerings to Santa Muerte. Sonora State Investigative Police have called it a satanic sect. Let's put a human face on these statistics. Roberto Primero Luis from Guatemala. 23 years old. He crossed 2,300 miles from his village in the Guatemalan highlands to Cels, Arizona, only to succumb to the desert. When Border Patrol found him on Bird Nest Hill, he was wearing camouflage clothing and carpet-soled shoes designed to hide footprints. He'd paid smugglers far more than his family could afford, money borrowed against their land. His body was catalogued as UBC number 104 for that year. Undocumented border crosser. By September, they'd already found 104 that year alone. Of the 153 migrants who ended up at the Tucson Medical Examiner's office, nearly half were Guatemalan, the single largest group. Why do they keep coming despite the dangers? Because U.S. immigration policy has created a deadly bottleneck. Legal pathways are nearly impossible. The CBP One app, the main authorized way to seek asylum, requires migrants to compete for limited appointments. Wait times can stretch months. Meanwhile, they're stranded in Mexican border cities with no support networks, making them easy prey for cartels demanding extortion, kidnapping them for ransom, or forcing them into smuggling operations. As researcher Parker Asman explained, U.S. policy contributed to these dynamics that made migrants increasingly vulnerable. When the migrant protection protocols forced asylum seekers to wait in Mexico, it expanded the pool of potential victims for cartels. More people waiting meant more people desperate enough to pay smugglers, take riskier routes, and cross through the deadliest terrain. The town of Sonoita, across from Lukeville, Arizona, exemplifies this crisis. In December 2023, a gunfight between cartel members and Mexican military lasted hours. Gunmen used AK-47s and AR-15s. The international bridge remained closed for days. A local resident told Fox News, "This is all because of the amount of migrants arriving to this town." The Tucson sector recorded over 300,000 crossings in fiscal year 2023 alone. So what drives this crisis? Let's break down the psychology and motivations on all sides. For the migrants, they're fleeing violence, poverty, political instability, and climate disasters in Central America and beyond. The American dream isn't just about prosperity, it's about survival. They know the risks. They've heard the stories. But when the choice is between probable death at home and possible death crossing the desert, desperation overrides fear. Families take on crushing debt, sell everything they own, and trust their lives to smugglers they've never met. For the cartels, this is pure economics. With increased U.S. enforcement on fentanyl trafficking, cartels have diversified. Human smuggling offers massive profits with less law enforcement focus than drugs. Control the routes, charge everyone who crosses, eliminate competition, it's cartel business 101. The factional violence within the Sinaloa cartel shows just how valuable this territory has become. They're literally fighting wars over the right to exploit desperate people. For U.S. policymakers, the calculus was supposed to be deterrence. Make crossing so dangerous, so difficult, so deadly that people would stop trying. But deterrence theory failed because it fundamentally misunderstood human desperation. People don't stop fleeing violence and poverty because the journey is dangerous. They just take more dangerous routes and pay more to smugglers. The psychological impact is profound. Survivors carry trauma from the crossing, dehydration, heat exposure, violence, witnessing deaths. Families back home wait for news that never comes. Border communities live with constant violence. Humanitarian workers suffer compassion fatigue from encountering so much death. This crisis creates concentric circles of psychological damage radiating out from every body found in the desert. Here's what we're left with: a policy meant to save lives by deterring migration has instead created a killing field. The Sonoran Desert, billions of years in the making, has been weaponized by human policy. Cartel violence, fueled by prohibition economics and migration desperation, adds another layer of death to an already deadly landscape. Since 1998, at least 8,000 documented deaths. One person per day, every single day, for over 2 decades. And those are just the bodies that were found. The Sonoran Desert doesn't have to be a graveyard. Policy created this crisis. Policy can end it. If you found this information important, hit that like button and subscribe for more in-depth investigations into the stories that matter. Until next time, stay informed.